Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, who's an artist here? Let's show a hand. We want to read the audience. Perfect. I think we got some really good value for you. That's our intention here. We have some people with a lot of experience in art. And before we start, quick introduction so you know who you're dealing with here. And then we go into kind of the state of the NFT art market, just our observation, how we see it right now. And then we want to get into solutions. We want to help you to make a living with your art really well. And we have some good insights on that, I think. Yep. Let's get started, Jill.
Well, I will go ahead and kick off. So my name is Jill. So many of you in the room probably know me as Speaker Jill, and I am a one-of-one artist, hence the topic in the space. And I'm an abstract painter and a pop artist, and I have been for a very, very long time. But it was when I had gone through breast cancer that I started painting again. And then after COVID is when I came into NFTs. And when I first came into the space, I saw all these little avatars in Twitter Spaces. And that was after I found Twitter Spaces, but that's another story for another time. But I saw these cute little cartoon avatars. And I didn't know they were PFPs. I heard the terminology PFPs, and like so many of you, I probably, I'm going to assume that you all had to Google it to find out what it meant. But I wanted to fit in. So I took my headshot on my Twitter space, and I cartoonized it and made it look like everybody else's. And eventually I added a piece of my art behind it, but it was a while before I had somebody say, "You're not a PFP project. You have a great logo on your website. That's your brand. That's what you need to use for your avatar." And that's what I think sets me apart, and everybody, of course, knows it if you know me now. If you don't, that's it. That's my avatar. So that's my introduction, and you want to go next?
Yeah, I go next. I'm a branding Web3 strategist. I'm probably a little bit the outlier here. My background is not art. But I do help people get noticed. I help them to get positioned in a market. And so maybe that's an interesting perspective for an artist to hear, because I really feel like sometimes also artists need that reality check, just like how does marketing work? How do those things work for everyone else? And so let's see if I can add something here. Jamie, you go next.
So I'm Jamie from the JPEG Gallery, and my experience is 30 years of buying, selling, and collecting art, collectibles. And in 2020, when I first saw NFTs, especially for like X-Copy and Punks, I just realized it was going to be huge. So that's me, really.
All right. My name is Justin. I'm from Thailand. So excuse me if I'm a little bit slow, because right now it's like 3 a.m. in my local time zone. I'm supposed to sleep. I'm the founder of the Another Level NFT Creator, which is the NFT combined with the base of religious belief of God, something like that, which very famous in Thailand. I do some one-on-one art and also some PFP as well. Yeah, that would be me.
Dave.
Hey guys, so my name is David. You might know me as Meta David. I host the bi-weekly podcast called the Dead NFT Artist Society, where we talk to, initially started off as talking to emerging one-of-one artists, but now we've kind of expanded into just talking to creators more broadly. I would classify myself as both kind of a creator and a collector. I do collect pretty extensively in the art space on multiple blockchains. I also have a weekly newsletter called The Best of FX Hash. It's an unofficial one where we just extract the best pieces in our estimation and send it out in a newsletter. So nice to see you all.
Perfect. So now you guys know who you're dealing with. I would like to go into the challenges. Like, how do we see the market right now? What's going on? What challenges do artists have really? And maybe I start with you, Jamie. What do you see? You're an art curator. What's going on?
So I would say the biggest challenges at the moment is the art space is still dominated by the crypto gambling side of NFTs, so the PFPs, and especially towards the back end of last year, I think a lot of people weren't making money out of PFPs, so they've moved on to the art, which has made it very much particular styles of art have gone up a lot, others are struggling. That's
Very cool. Jill, how about you? What's your observation?
Well, I have a kind of a unique perspective of PFPs, because when I came in the space, they taught me everything I needed to know. They taught me how to shill. I know that's supposed to be a bad word now, but I still think that's how we do it. But I think it has changed it a little bit because, like you said, people tend to follow the trends. And what you really need to do is just be true to who you are as an artist. If you see a trend that inspires you, by all means, try it out. But I think, like what Jamie was saying, you don't want to just follow it because everyone else is.
No, I'd agree. At the moment, there tends to be quite a trend for precision art, vector art, and it's easy to look at some of the artists like Jeremy Booth and Grant, and they're selling for like 10 Ether, 40 Ether, and it's easy to sort of think, I'm going to go down that path, but ultimately that's just something short, I believe. Those artists will still be successful for a long time, but if you have a particular style, try and stick to that style, try and believe in yourself, because it's your narrative, it's your story that will make you desirable long term.
Makes a lot of sense. Justin, what's your observation right now?
Well, I totally agree with both of you, but in my point of view, for the Eastern market, especially from where I'm come from, the art market is very limited. Yeah, and it's hard to get spotlight for the artist, especially for one-of-one. Maybe PFP is easier for us. Yeah, but we still keep doing it, and a lot of artists try to connect with the world more, like us, like some of our friends here that got a chance to be here in New York.
Yeah, love it. Dave, what's your observation?
I think the most challenging part is probably breaking through the noise, because there's just so many different artists out there, and then just trying to find what makes you unique and stand out in the vast space of the art world. And so I think that's why there's that natural inclination to follow the trends, because everyone wants to replicate success. And so if you see something successful, naturally human nature is you just kind of want to replicate that. So all that's to say is just kind of being true to yourself, as you mentioned earlier. And I don't think it's bad to observe the trends and notice some of the best practices, but you also have to be very focused on what how you're going to approach the market and what's going to be uniquely yours. My suggestion also would be, which is kind of tied into this and based on my observations as a collector, is that the most successful artists are not the ones that necessarily just went all in and just dropped every piece that they made and just started shilling the heck out of everything. I think it would behoove you to probably just tap the brakes a little bit, stand back, participate in the community as a collector. And it doesn't necessarily mean collecting as far as being going out and purchasing different pieces, because I think we're all fully cognizant that not everyone can do that. But I think even just being a participant in the space, just connecting with others and being a part of a community, that goes a long way, and that gives you that credibility to go out and be able to create a piece successfully. I think as a collector, those are the kinds of the things that we look for, because one concern I would have is just if someone's totally new, they might see something that they don't like in the space, or they might get discouraged by not the fast sales that they expect, and then they might leave. But when we see that sustained participation, especially if it's done up front without any expectations of any return on investment on time, I think that bodes very well for the artist. So that would be my 2 cents on that.
Well,
I'd just like to go with that point there, as what I've noticed, I've helped a lot of artists who have done all the right things, they've got to the right point where they've maybe been accepted on Super Rare, and it's at that point where the money starts to get quite serious, like 2 Ether, 3 Ether, and they start producing too much work. And the people who've bought in at, say, 3 Ether, if you then drop something next week, the week after, the price is always going to go down when you do it at that speed. You then upset your collectors who've paid at 3 Ether. So the thing is, once you start getting traction, that's when you need to really sit back and think, right, how am I going to tackle this? And you've got to take it easy with it, is my opinion.
Yes.
Jill, you want? No, okay.
Oh, and yeah, I was going to say something, what David had kind of spoken on. That's another thing, too, being true to yourself. And as a one-of-one artist, if you've done this for any amount of time, pre-NFTs, you have gone through some times where you have not sold some art. And you didn't let what you saw change what you did. And of course, that's the mentality. I think that some of us that are one-of-one artists come into this PFP space, is that we know what it's like. You know, we know what it's like to not do sales and to have to just keep going. So I think that gives us a different perspective sometimes than other projects.
Yeah, I love it. And maybe from my perspective, so I approach this more business-like maybe, and it's kind of frowned upon in this space, like what is this business dude, we're doing art here. But I think it's still important, right? Like you want to sell your art, and so I think we touched on this earlier, like getting seen in this space is not easy, and so in preparation of this talk, I thought, okay, what's 3 steps I can bring across here? And I think the first one you also touched, like you want to get your story right. Like we talk a lot about like crafting your story and how, like, for example, X-Copy just has this beautiful story that no one can take away from him, her, them, whoever that is, but getting your story right, and like this is actually writing it out. Like when I work with clients on personal branding and stuff, like this is storytelling. You can read a book about storytelling. Who's the hero here? Like make yourself the hero, make your fans the hero, and really write out your story so it's appealing. It's not enough to say, hey, I have art here, I'm here. That's unfortunately not how the world works. So I think the first really important step is to, and as you said, stay true to yourself. How can you stay true to yourself? By first knowing what's your story, right?
And he's on something, because if we're honest, when we're artists and we came into this space, you know why we did it? Because we thought, ooh, here's somewhere we can sell our art. Now, I was one of those people. I came in, went to all the spaces. I'm like, all right, I'm going to sell my art. And I was listening to all of these people talk. And I kept thinking, are they friends? Do they know each other? They seem like really friendly, chit-chatting in Twitter spaces. And then I realized, oh, they've just, become this thing. You would hear the word community. You'd hear the word family. And I'm like, I don't need all that. I'm just here to sell my art. 3 days later, I'm like, I love you, man. So we have to really understand, like you said, yes, it's a business. And yes, if we're honest, we're here to sell our art. But there is so much more to it. And there are communities that will support you whenever you are having that little lapse of time where nothing's happening.
For sure. Jamie, or Justin, you wanted to add something?
I mean, when Jill speaking about community, we're doing the same. Like, there's a lot of one-on-one artists in Thailand that send their art in here, NFT.NYC, but they won't be able to come here because like travel and everything is like very expensive. So me and my friend here just like help them to record everything, and they're very impressed by seeing their art in NFT.NYC. Yeah.
And he's really making a light about it. He was FaceTiming or having a live feed and showing piece after piece after piece to all of his people. It was really, really, really nice.
And that's such a good point, right? Like in marketing, the best product is the one you know. Like if nobody knows about you, that's kind of a tough one. And so it really is that work of getting that attention, jumping into Twitter spaces. There's really so much you can do and kind of put in the work. And like, yes, there's those outliers that just like crazy outstanding artists or at the right time at the right place, but for everyone else there's some good solid branding marketing work to be done. And the cool thing about it is that like if you do the work you will see results, like it's not always luck. Like there's luck probably part of it, but then there's good old work, and to me that's ensuring. Like I can do the work and I will see results. So.
And David, you give a platform with the podcast.
Yeah. So I wanted to add on to what Jill said, and I'll talk a little bit about that too. So I would say also from a marketing standpoint, when you're kind of segmenting the market out and you're looking after your target market, don't necessarily sleep on the people that are PFP collectors, because like as Jill was saying, that you started off with, like, as we all did, so with intentions to make a lot of money as a PFP collector. Not that I'm proud of it, but my first foray was exactly that, because I was looking, okay, you know, I've got all these earnings that I've made in ETH, and then I can amplify it and multiply it by getting into these projects, and there's a lot of liquidity there, and I can make a lot of money. Boy, was I wrong. But in the process, though, and I did this even during the bull market, what I actually observed, even as being a participant in the PFP collection space, is that the best connections I always made were in the art space, and that's what really kind of gravitated me towards the art space ultimately. And although, yes, as you can tell, I have a dead fella and an on-chain monkey, and I do still collect PFPs, but I really enjoy the connections that I make with artists and other collectors within that community. So I would say that if you are like a starting artist and you see someone's really into PFPs, don't necessarily dismiss them and write them off as a lost cause. There's still, you know, there's still a segment of us that you can kind of tap into. And then also to pick up on what Jill was saying, that alluded to, is what I'm doing as a creator is, as a lot of you do know, I do have a bi-weekly podcast. What I'm doing to kind of break through that noise, because there's a lot of analogies between being an artist and being a podcaster, is I'm making every episode that we've dropped this season, which we started back in January, as a free mint. And the reason we do that, it's a free mint, so the intent isn't to like extract value from my listeners, but actually rather it's almost exactly the opposite, because similar to the art world, if you're a physical artist and you sell to someone, you don't sell directly to that person normally. There's a whole bunch of middle people involved, and you don't even necessarily know who's going to be the person that ends up with the piece. As a podcaster, I kind of have the same challenges, which is I get the analytics, and the analytics aren't very good, and I have a rough idea as far as like what country they're based out of or what, you know, demographic they're a part of, but I don't know exactly who that is. So for me, as a podcaster, I'm trying to kind of help like have that deeper and direct relationship with the people that are minting, and then also I can reward them for minting as well. So we've done a lot of cool things. The last cool reward that we have for people that have full sets so far of all the NFTs that are all the podcasts that we've dropped, I gave them each a Bitcoin ordinal, and their own personalized Bitcoin ordinal. We swept the floor of, we had Sabet as a guest, and I swept his floor for the Tokyo Punks collection, and then airdropped it to some of the loyal minters. So yeah, so I think it solves a lot of different problems as far as the creation process goes. So there's a lot of parallels between being a podcaster and also an art creator.
And if y'all haven't noticed, for me personally, my earliest collectors were all PFP founders, community managers. They were all the people in the spaces. I was listening to them pitch their projects, and then I'd get up there and I'm like, hey, I'm Speaker Jill, I'm an artist. And that's where the money was back in the bull market days. And that's where I got a lot of support. When I wanted to give up, I can't do this is too hard, those were the guys that were always there, because you know what? They're always on there talking about their project, so you could always go and really get feedback and get support. And it was that, I mean, so I have a little spot in my heart for all PFP people.
That's really nice of you, Jill. So yeah, that makes me think, you know, like a concept I wanted to get across is to be of service. Like, that might sound weird as an artist. You create art, people are supposed to enjoy it. Maybe end of story, but probably not. But you know, like when you create content, or if I work with influencers, it's like they think, okay, how can I create content? How can I create something that's of value for my target audience? And with art, you know, yesterday I was at this art studio of Danny Cole, and I got to spend an hour with him and draw some art with him. That's being of service. It adds something to me. Being in Twitter spaces, offering you help, and as you said, your journey with the PFP world. So there's so many ways to be of service also as an artist, and have this kind of service mentality, you know, like that's, I think, really important, because as I said, like the world is most likely not waiting for you, for your art. You have to show it to them. You have to like advertise it to them in a way so they can enjoy it and fall in love with it.
Yeah. And I think Jamie provides a nice service for artists in the Twitter space as well.
Thank you. Yeah, my main thing is really doing art reviews for people and just trying to get people out there as much as possible. I'm very passionate about up-and-coming artists getting a voice for themselves and getting out there as much as you can. And one thing I would say is a traditional artist can afford to experiment in their studio and put the stuff out there, and if it doesn't quite go well, then it's forgotten about. With digital art, there's always a record of it, and I tend to find what really helps for artists is if, it sounds bad, but if what you do doesn't look too scruffy. Now, a way to do that is to test on TES. I think going on TES and producing a lot on TES can help you develop a style, help you develop the way you do your art, and then when you then move to ETH, it almost doesn't affect it. Whereas if you're experimenting a lot on ETH, and you've got hundreds of different styles, and people can go on OpenSea and see all these different styles, I think that's not great.
Well, and also if you have a strong project, because my first collection was on ETH, and so that's where I went. And if you want to try something new or have a little fun project, and you have a particular style, TES is a place to go.
I'm a big champion of TES. I think it's a great platform, and some of the great artists that are really innovating, and it's almost like they feel more relaxed to actually go on there and try stuff. Yeah. Whereas on ETH, they feel like, well, it's got to be my best work, and they're almost like scared to put the correct work out there.
Yeah.
I will try that after this.
Yeah, very cool. So I guess as the talk is coming to a close, like Jill, maybe I start with you. What's the one thing? What's the one recommendation for aspiring artists, upcoming artists? Like, how can they go big here?
Well, when I figure that out, I will come back and let all y'all know. But I think when it's all said and done, and I've said this a few times, and I just can't say it enough, whatever's inside of you that you have to put on a canvas, whether it is a iPad or it's an actual canvas or it's a piece of cardboard or a wall, or if you are using your voice, it doesn't matter. It's art. And I think one of the big things about me and PFPs is it's all art. Granted, yeah, there's utility and the space has evolved, but when you're looking at everybody's avatar, there's an artist behind every single thing that you see on Twitter, in NFTs. It's all art. So I think that's the one thing you just have to remember, is that it's all about the art. And if there's a tip, there's something that PFP founders and everybody all the DGens taught me was, don't ever give up. Keep grinding, don't sleep, eat lots of pizza. No, I'm kidding. Well, at least for a couple months. But just keep going.
Love it. Just real quick from my side, as time is running down, I think really get your story right. Like it's everyone says storytelling, blah, 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 but it is really the thing about artists and about all of us. Like if I can tell you my story in the elevator pitch in 1-2 nice sentences, why I matter as an artist, why it's great to follow me, collect my art, what's special about it. If you got that down, you're one step closer for sure.
I only have one simple thing, and I tell it my children, and it's don't work hard, work joyfully. Life is just so short. Don't make it a big problem. Just go out there, enjoy it, do your art, let it flow, and be yourself.
For me, I would say don't give up, have faith in what you believe. And, I will copy the Rocky Bubble quote that one step at a time, one punch at a time, one round at a time. Just keep doing what you believe. If I give up, I will be here. Thank you.
Love it.
So what I'm going to say is kind of counterintuitive to what I'd normally say as like a dude with an MBA and who's worked in the corporations for my whole life, which is it's not about the bottom line. It's just really having fun. So as a creator, just have fun, be true to yourself, and everything will be fine. And then as a collector, if your bags are keeping you up at night, you're probably overexposed. So just, reel it back, have fun. That's all.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.